What's good, everybody? Today we're going to explore a deeply entrenched and systemic form of discrimination in U.S. history. Redlining from the 1930s to the 1960s. This practice denied Black, Latino, and Asian Americans access to home loans and property ownership in white neighborhoods. Let's delve into the historical context. During the Great Depression of the 1930s, the U.S. government introduced programs to stabilize the housing market and promote homeownership. One such program was the creation of the Homeowners Loan Corporation in 1933, followed by the Federal Housing Administration in 1934. However, these programs were not designed to benefit everyone equally. Racial segregation and discrimination were deeply embedded in American society, and government policies reflected and reinforced these inequalities. Redlining emerged as a tool to systematically exclude people of color from assessing the benefits of home ownership. Redlining got its name from the practice of drawing red lines on maps to mark neighborhoods deemed hazardous for investment. These neighborhoods were predominantly Black, Latino, or Asian American, regardless of the resident's income or creditworthiness. Banks and lending institutions used these maps to deny mortgages and home loans to people of color, effectively preventing them from buying homes in desirable, i.e. white, neighborhoods. Even if families of color could afford to buy homes, they were often steered toward racially segregated and underfunded areas. The FHA, which insured private mortgages, explicitly refused to back loans in redline areas. This policy not only limited home ownership opportunities for people of color, but also devalued their existing properties, creating a cycle of de-investment and poverty. The consequences of redlining were devastating and long-lasting. Denied access to home loans, families of color were excluded from one of the most important pathways to building wealth in America: home ownership. Redline neighborhoods received little investment in infrastructure, schools, or public services. Over time, these areas became economically depressed, with higher rates of poverty, unemployment, and health disparities. Redlining also reinforced racial segregation, creating deeply divided cities and perpetuating stereotypes about communities of color. Even after the practice was officially banned, its effects continued to shape housing patterns and economic opportunities. Despite the systemic nature of redlining, communities of color and civil rights activists fought back. Organizations like the NAACP and leaders like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. highlighted housing discrimination as a key issue in the struggle for racial justice. In 1968, following the assassination of Dr. King, Congress passed the Fair Housing Act, which made housing discrimination illegal. However, the legacy of redlining persisted, as many of the economic and social disparities it created remained unsolved. Redlining may no longer be official policy, but its legacy is still felt today. The racial wealth gap, with white families owning significantly more wealth than Black and Latino families, can be traced back to decades of exclusion from home ownership and investment. Redline neighborhoods continue to face challenges such as underfunded schools, environmental hazards, and limited access to health care. These disparities highlight the enduring impact of systemic racism in America. Today, activists and policymakers are working to address these inequities through initiatives like affordable housing programs, reparations discussions, and efforts to combat modern-day housing discrimination. Redlining is a stark reminder of how systemic racism can shape the lives of individuals and communities for generations. It challenges us to confront the injustices of the past and work toward a more equitable future. Thank you for joining me on this journey through history. Let's remember the lessons of redlining as we strive to build a society where everyone has the opportunity to thrive. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and keep making history. I'm Daryl Omar, and I'll see you soon.